Hi friends! Today I'm going to start delivering your packages of books. I'm so excited for you to get these, and I hope that after you get them and you open them up, you can send me a picture of you reading your new Elephant and Piggy books. I hope that you like them. So I was thinking about how we've been learning about plants and gardens, and I remembered that at the beginning of the year we read a Frog and Toad book about gardens. Do you remember that story? This Frog and Toad book is called Frog and Toad Together, and one of the stories in there is called The Garden. I'm going to read a few stories to you from this book today. I think we'll read The List, The Garden, and Cookies. After each one of these stories, I want you to think about, what is this story teaching me? Because Frog and Toad are always teaching us things. Sometimes they're teaching us how to be good friends, but sometimes they're also teaching us how to be patient, how to be kind. So while I read, think about, what are Frog and Toad teaching us? Or really, what is the author, Arnold Lobel, trying to show us? Something that we could learn. The first story I'm going to read today is called A List. One morning, Toad sat in bed. "I have many things to do," he said. "I will write them all down on a list so that I can remember them." Toad wrote on a piece of paper, "A list of things to do today." Then he wrote, "Wake up." "I have done that," said Toad, and he crossed out, "Wake up." Do you ever make a list of things to do? I've noticed I've been doing that a lot since we've been at home and not going to school. I make a list of all the things I'm going to do during the day, and then I cross them off. Do you ever do that with your family? Then Toad wrote other things on the paper. A list of things to do today. Wake up, eat breakfast, get dressed, go to Frog's house, take walk with Frog, eat lunch, take nap, play games with Frog, eat supper, go to sleep. "There," said Toad. "Now my day is all written down." He got out of bed and had something to eat. Then Toad crossed out, "Eat breakfast." He's having a pretty productive day, isn't he? He's crossing off everything on his list. Luca, why are you doing that? Thank you. Toad took his clothes out of the closet and put them on. Then he crossed out, "Get dressed." Toad put the list in his pocket. He opened the door and walked out into the morning. Soon Toad was at Frog's front door. He took the list from his pocket and crossed out, "Go to Frog's house." I think Luca wants to tell us a story or play with us. I don't know what she wants to do up there, but she's making an annoying noise. There, I got her out of the way. Toad knocked at the door. "Hello," said Frog. "Look at my list of things to do." Said Toad. "Oh," said Frog, "that is very nice." Toad said, "My list tells me that we will go for a walk." "All right," said Frog, "I'm ready." Frog and Toad went out on a long walk. Then Toad took the list from his pocket again. He crossed out, "Take walk with Frog." Just then there was a strong wind. It blew the list out of Toad's hand. The list blew high up into the air. "Help!" cried Toad. "My list is blowing away. What will I do without my list?" "Hurry," said Frog. "We will run and catch it." "No," shouted Toad. "I cannot do that." "Why not?" asked Frog. "Because," wailed Toad, "running after my list is not one of the things that I wrote on my list of things to do." That seems pretty silly. Are you allowed to do things that aren't on your list? Of course you are. Frog ran after the list. He ran over hills and swamps, but the list flew on and on. At last, Frog came back to Toad. "I am sorry," gasped Frog, "but I could not catch your list." "Blah," said Toad. I cannot remember any of the things that were on my list of things to do. I will just have to sit here and do nothing, said Toad. Toad sat and did nothing. Frog sat with him. After a long time, Frog said, Toad, it is getting dark. We should be going to sleep now. Go to sleep, shouted Toad. That was the last thing on my list. Toad wrote on the ground with a stick, Go to sleep. Then he crossed it out, Go to sleep. There, said Toad. Now my day is all crossed out. I am glad, said Frog. Then Frog and Toad went right to sleep. What do you think the author, Arnold Lobo, was trying to teach us in that story? It's good to have a list, right? But do we have to do everything on our list of things to do? Sometimes we just don't have time, right? Sometimes we think we're going to do our assignment on Seesaw, but we don't have time. Sometimes we think we're going to be able to go outside and play a little bit, but we don't have time, or it's a rainy day. Poor Luca thinks she's going to be able to go outside, but she might have to change her mind. You see her trying to get out there? What do you think that this story is trying to teach us? You can tell somebody who's watching with you, or you can tell me. Okay, I'm going to read another one. This might be our last one for today. This one is called The Garden. Now, this is the one I really wanted to read you because we're actually going to learn something about how to grow seeds in this story. Think about what you already know about growing seeds in a garden. What 3 things does a seed need to grow? That's right. You know the 3 things, right? Soil, sun, and water. Does the seed grow right away, or do you have to be a little bit patient? Let's read and find out. The garden. Frog was in his garden. Toad came walking by. What a fine garden you have, Frog, he said. Yes, said Frog. It is very nice, but it was hard work. I wish I had a garden, said Toad. Here are some flower seeds. Plant them in the ground, said Frog, and soon you will have a garden. How soon? Asked Frog. Let me read that again. How soon? Asked Toad. Quite soon, said Frog. Is it going to take like 1 day for the seeds to grow, or do you think it will take longer than that? Frog ran home. He planted the flower seeds. Now seeds, said Toad, start growing. Toad walked up and down a few times. The seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head close to the ground and said loudly, say it with me, now seeds, start growing. Toad looked at the ground again. The seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head very close to the ground and shouted, read it with me, now seeds, start growing. Frog came running up the path. What is all this noise? He asked. My seeds will not grow, said Toad. You are shouting too much, said Frog. These poor seeds are afraid to grow. My seeds are afraid to grow? Asked Toad. Of course, said Frog. Leave them alone for a few days. Let the sun shine on them. Let the rain fall on them. Soon your seeds will start to grow. That night, Toad looked out of his window. Drat, said Toad, my seeds have not started to grow. They must be afraid of the dark. Toad went out to his garden with some candles. I will read the seeds a story, said Toad. Then they will not be afraid. Toad read a long story to his seeds. What do you think? Do seeds like to listen to stories? All the next day, Toad sang songs to his seeds. And all the next day, Toad read poems to his seeds. And all the next day, Toad played music for his seeds. Toad looked at the ground. The seeds still did not start to grow. What shall I do? Cried Toad. These must be the most frightened seeds in the whole world. Then Toad felt very tired, and he fell asleep. Toad, 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 wake up, said Frog. Look at your garden. Toad looked at his garden. Little green plants were coming up out of the ground. At last, shouted Toad, my seeds have stopped being afraid to grow. And now you will have a nice garden too, said Frog. Yes, said Toad, but you were right, Frog. It was very hard work. What do you think this story is trying to teach us? I know we learn a lot about seeds from this story, right? We know what they need to grow, and we know that we also need to wait a while. It takes a few days for seeds to start to sprout, and even longer before we see anything green coming out of the earth. Tell somebody watching with you, or tell me, what do you think this story is trying to teach us? I think it's trying to teach us something about being patient, right? Sometimes things we really want don't happen right away. Sometimes we have to wait a little bit. I think I'm going to stop reading there. What do you think? Should I read one more story? Okay, I'll read one more story. This is going to make this video a little bit long today, but this one is super silly. This one's called Cookies. Toad baked some cookies. These cookies smell very good, said Toad. He ate one. And they taste even better, he said. Toad ran to Frog's house. Frog, Frog, cried Toad, taste these cookies I have made. Frog ate one of the cookies. These are the best cookies I have ever eaten, said Frog. Frog and Toad ate many cookies, one after another. You know, Toad, said Frog with his mouth full, I think we should stop eating. We will soon be sick. It's true, you shouldn't eat too many cookies. You are right, said Toad. Let us eat one last cookie, and then we will stop. Frog and Toad ate one last cookie. There were many cookies left in the bowl. Frog, said Toad, let us eat one very last cookie, and then we will stop. Frog and Toad ate one very last cookie. What do you think they're going to say next? We must stop eating, cried Toad, as he ate another. Yes, said Frog, reaching for a cookie. We need willpower. What is willpower? Asked Toad. Have you ever heard of willpower before? Let's see what it is. Willpower is trying hard not to do something that you really want to do, said Frog. You mean like trying not to eat all of these cookies? Asked Toad. Right, said Frog. Willpower could also mean trying really hard to do something you need to do. Like maybe you're feeling tired and you don't want to do your schoolwork, but if you have willpower, you say, oh, I'm going to try. I'm going to work for just 20 minutes and get my work done. That's willpower too. Frog put the cookies in a box. There, he said. Now we will not eat any more cookies. But we can open the box, said Toad. Ooh, that is true, said Frog. Frog tied some string around the box. There, he said. Now we will not eat any more cookies. But we can cut the string and open the box, said Toad. That is true, said Frog. Frog got a ladder. He put the box up on a high shelf. There, said Frog. Now we will not eat any more cookies. But we can climb the ladder and take the box down from the shelf and cut the string and open the box, said Toad. That is true, said Frog. Frog climbed the ladder and took the box down from the shelf. He cut the string and opened the box. Are they going to eat more cookies? Frog took the box outside. He shouted in a loud voice, Hey, birds, here are cookies. Birds came from everywhere. They picked up all the cookies in their beaks and flew away. Now we have no more cookies to eat, said Toad sadly. Not even one. Yes, said Frog, but we have lots and lots of willpower. You may keep it all, Frog, said Toad. I'm going home now to bake a cake. And that's the end of the cookies. What was that story trying to teach us? First of all, that we shouldn't eat too many cookies, right? Second of all, it's pretty hard to have willpower. Sometimes we need to just put things away so that we won't eat them anymore. What do you think that story was trying to teach us? Okay, so 2 things I want to tell you today. The first is, if you go to Seesaw, you're going to see something really cool today. You're going to see an activity about the garden. And when you click on it, you'll actually see a little movie that they made about the garden. It's the same story as our garden that we just read, with a little frog and a little toad making a little movie. So you get to watch that little movie, and then you can tell me what was your favorite part. So you'll use the microphone to record yourself talking about what was your favorite part. The other thing I have for you today, down in the description, is a new video from Coach Ariel. So make sure to do your PE today, and you can watch that video all week to get your exercise and feel strong in your body. Okay, friends, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.